everybody, it's Teresa. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to do a peyote bracelet today using Superduos. This is very easy. I think this may be even easier than doing peyote with regular beads. And I'm going to do a little diagonal pattern. You can do all kinds of different patterns. You don't have to, I'm going to use 3 different colors of Superduos here, but you can use all one color. You can use 2 colors, you can use 4 colors, whatever you want to do. I've got, these are pastel light coral Superduos. These are opaque green turquoise white luster Superduos. These are, there we go, Superduos pastel lilac Superduos. And I think I said in the video before, if you're wondering about these tubes, when I find a color that I like and I use a lot, I buy them in very large quantities, and they come in little baggies, and I put them in my own little tubes. Same for these. These are 15-0s, and they're galvanized to silver, and I use a lot of that, so I buy it in very large quantities and put it in these little tubes. So these are 15-0 galvanized silver, and these are 8-0 galvanized silver. I'm only going to need just a very few of the 8-0s. I have a little toggle clasp here, and a couple of jump rings, and a couple of wire guardians, and I have a couple of size 11 tulip beading needles. I'm only going to use one, but I always have an extra close by in case I drop one and can't find it. I've got my 8-pound fire line and smoke. The only thing I'm using for tools are my scissors to cut my fire line, and my chain nose pliers and my bent chain nose pliers to put my clasp on at the end. I got these bent chain nose pliers from BB Craft many years ago, and then I use the chain nose pliers to flatten the end of my thread so that I can get it through the eye of the needle. I've already got a needle threaded here with a stop bead on it, and I've left about a 10 to 12 inch tail, so because I'm going to go back later and sew my clasp on. So I think that's everything. Hold on and I'll get some of my beads poured out and I'll be back. Okay, I got some of my beads poured out here in a big old mess like I do. And I'm going to see if I can zoom in and not blur too bad. Come on, focus. Okay. Now, to get started, I'm going to pick up one of my purple beads. And I think I mentioned on a video before, when you're working with 2-hole beads, you want to make sure to check both the holes as you go, because sometimes one of the holes can be clogged up, maybe with some paint or something. And if you don't check and then you get to your second row and you can't get through the second hole, then you have to go back and take out the row before it. So it's just easier to check as you go and make sure that they're both open. So I'm going to pick up a purple Superduo, one of my 8-0s, one of my coral Superduos, one of my 8-0s, and one of my turquoise Superduos. Now I'm going to put my stop bead up here at the top. Now to decorate the side of this turquoise Superduo, because I'm going to go back up through it, I'm going to pick up 3 of my 15-0s. You don't have to use 3 15-0s. You can use 3 11-0s, 2 11-0s, whatever you want to here. I'm just using 3 15-0s. I'm going to go back up through the second hole of that turquoise Superduo. And that just kind of decorates the side up there a little bit. I'm going to push my stop bead down, tighten everything up. So if you're going to do this diagonal pattern like I'm doing, when you're going toward the stop bead, you want to pick up the bead, the color Superduo that you're coming out of. So I'm coming out of a turquoise, so I'm going to pick up a turquoise, and I'm going to go into the second hole of the coral bead. Up here so y'all can see what I'm doing. Okay, now I'm coming out of the coral bead. Well, Okay, I'm coming out of the coral bead. So I'm going to pick up a coral bead, and I'm going to go into the second hole of the purple bead. Just pull it tight so that that'll pop in there like it's supposed to. Okay, so now I'm coming out of a purple Superduo. So I'm going to pick up a purple Superduo. Yeah, I'm going to pick up a purple Superduo, but because this is on the edge, I'm going to pick up 3 15-0s to decorate the side. I'm going to drop all this down here. And now I'm just going to go back through the second hole of that purple bead so I can start coming back down. And you want to hold on to this. This is the most fiddly part of this whole thing, is putting the ones on the edges, because you're not really going into anything except the same bead, and it's just kind of fiddly, but that's what that does. Now when you're coming away from the stop bead to do this diagonal pattern, you want to pick up the bead you're going into. So I'm going to go into a coral bead, so I'm going to pick up a coral bead, and I'm going to go into the second hole of that coral bead. And sometimes they get twisted, and you just have to fiddle with them a little bit to get them in there like they're supposed to be. So that's what I got now. So now I'm going to go into a turquoise bead, so I'm going to pick up a turquoise bead. I'm going to go into the second hole of the turquoise bead. Now down here I don't have a bead to go into, but I know my next bead in my line, so you can see the diagonal starting to form here, and I know my next bead in line for the diagonal is purple. So I'm going to pick up a purple, and I'm going to pick up 3 15-0s to decorate the side because this is on the edge. Drop all this down. And then I'm going to turn around and go up through the second hole of the purple bead, and I'm going to hold it. And pull my 15-0s up like that, and that's what you get. Now I'm going toward the stop bead. So I want to pick up the bead, the color that I'm coming out of. So I'm going to pick up a purple, and I'm going to go into the second hole of the turquoise bead. Now I'm coming out of a turquoise, so I'm going to pick up a turquoise, go into the second hole of the coral bead. Now I'm coming out of a pink, or coral, so I'm going to pick up a coral, but because I'm on the edge here, I'm going to pick up 3 15-0s too to decorate the side. Drop it all down to the bottom of my thread, lay it out there, and then go through the second hole of the coral bead. So now I'm coming back down. So I'm going to go into I'm going to pick up the bead I'm going into. So I'm going to pick up a turquoise bead, go into the second hole of the turquoise bead. Now I'm going into a purple bead, so I'm going to pick up a purple bead, go into the second hole of the purple bead. Now down here, I don't have anything to go into, But I know my next bead is pink because for one thing, that's the way this is going. But for another thing, I already got a turquoise and a pink, so I mean a purple, so the only thing left is a coral bead. So I'm gonna pick up a coral bead, pick up 3 15-ohs, drop it to the end here, and lay it out there. Go back up through the second hole of the coral bead, tighten it up, and I know it looks like that coral bead's just hanging out there loose, but when you put your next bead in, it's going to tighten it up. So that's what I've got there, and I'm going to try to pull it so it gets a little closer there. Now when I'm going away from a stop bead, I'm going to pick up the bead that I'm coming out of. I mean, when I'm going toward my stop bead, I'm going to pick up the bead that I'm coming out of. So I'm going to pick up a coral bead, go in the second hole of the purple bead. Now I'm going to pick up a purple, I'm coming out of a purple bead, so I'm going to pick up a purple bead, go into the second hole of the turquoise bead. Now I'm coming out of a turquoise bead, so I'm going to pick up a turquoise bead, but I'm on the edge here, so I'm going to pick up 3 15-ohs. Drop all that down to the bottom of the thread. Lay it out there. And then go back down the second hole of that same Superduo. So now I'm going away from the stop bead, so I'm going to pick up the bead, color of the bead I'm going into. So I'm going to pick up a purple, go into the second hole of this purple, now I'm going into a coral, so I'm going to pick up a coral, go into the second hole of this coral, and now down here I don't have a bead to go into, but the only bead I've got left is in this row is a turquoise. So I'm going to pick up a turquoise, 3 15-ohs because it's on the edge, lay it out, well I thought I had, oh yeah, lost my 3 15-ohs there for a minute. Well, I think I've still, oh, they're stuck at the bottom of my, stuck on the eye of my needle. Okay, now I'm going to lay this out here, and I'm going to go up through the second hole of the same turquoise bead that I'm coming out of. Pull my 15-ohs up there to decorate the side. Now I'm going toward my stop bead, so I'm going to pick up the bead I'm coming out of. So I'm going to pick up the turquoise bead, go into the second hole of the coral bead. Now I'm coming out of the coral bead. I'm going to pick up a coral bead, go into the purple bead. Now I'm coming out of a purple bead. I'm going to pick up a purple bead, and I'm going to pick up 3 15-ohs to decorate the side. Bring it all down to the bottom of my thread and lay it out. And then I'm going to go back through the second hole of the purple bead that I'm coming out of. Now if you want to flip this as you go, that's fine. Just remember, when you're going away from your stop bead, when you're going away from the stop bead, you want to pick up the bead, the color of the bead that you're going into. So I'm going to pick up a coral, go into the second hole of this coral. I'm going into a turquoise, so I'm going to pick up a turquoise, go into the second hole of this turquoise. Now, the only bead I've got left to pick up here in this row is a purple, so I'm going to pick up a purple, 3 of my 15-0s because it's on the edge. I'll lay it out here. I'm going to go into the hole of the purple bead, the second hole of the purple bead, the same bead that I'm coming out of. Now I'm going to flip it over again. Now when you're going towards your stop bead, you pick up the color of the bead that you're coming out of. So I'm going to pick up a purple, go into the second hole of the turquoise, pick up a turquoise, go into the second hole of the coral, make sure it doesn't get twisted and it goes in there. Now the only bead I've got left here is, well, I'm coming out of the pink, so I'm going to pick up a pink, 3 15-0s, bring it down to the bottom of my thread and lay it out. Go back through the second hole of that same bead, bring your 15-0s down. Now I'm going away from the stop bead, so I'm going to pick up the bead I'm going into. So I'm going to pick up a turquoise, go into the turquoise. I'm going into a purple, so I'm going to pick up a purple, go into the purple. And then try to get twisted, just pull them out and untwist them. Now the only bead left here in this row is a pink, so I'm going to pick up a coral. Pick up a coral, pick up 3 15-0s, I'm going to flip my work because it does seem to be kind of easier to get these edge beads to lay out from the top. Kind of gravity kind of helps you a little bit. So I'm going to pick up pink, or coral, 3 15-0s. I'm going to lay it out here. Turn my little bead around here. Go back down the hole, second hole of the bead I'm coming out of, just to bring my little 15-0s there on the edge. Now I'm going toward the stop bead. My stop bead's down here. I'm going toward the stop bead. So I'm going to come out of the bead that I'm going to pick up the bead that I'm coming out of. So that's a coral, so I'm going to pick up a coral, go into the purple, now I'm coming out of a purple, so I'm going to pick up a purple, go into the turquoise. Now the only bead left, I'm coming out of a turquoise, so I'm going to pick up a turquoise, 3 15-0s. I'm going to flip it over, lay it out here, and go into the second hole of that same turquoise bead. Now my stop bead's up here. I'm going away from the stop bead, so I'm going to pick up the bead I'm going into. So I'm going to pick up a purple, go into the second hole of that purple, going into a coral, so I'm going to pick up a coral, go into the second hole of that coral. Now I don't have a bead I'm going into, but the only bead left is a turquoise, so I'm going to pick up a turquoise and 3 15-0s because I'm on the edge. I'm going to flip it over because it seems to be easier to do this part from the top, but you don't have to flip it over. You can do it from the bottom if you want to. I'm going to go through the second hole of this same bead I'm coming out of. Pull my 15-0s down like that. Now my stop bead is down at the bottom. So I'm going toward my stop bead. So when I'm going toward my stop bead, I'm going to pick up the bead color of the bead I'm coming out of. So I'm coming out of a turquoise. Pick up a turquoise, go into the second hole of the coral. Coming out of a coral, going to pick up a coral, go into the second hole of this purple one. Coming out of a purple, so I'm going to pick up a purple. 3 15-0s because I'm on the edge here. Lay my beads down. I'm going to flip it over. And I'm going to find the second hole of that bead I'm coming out of and hold it and pull the 15-0s down. So the 15-0s sit on the side of it there. Now my stop bead is on the top. I'm going away from my stop bead. And when I'm going away from the stop bead, I'm going to pick up the bead that I'm going into. So I'm going into a coral. I'm going to pick up a coral. Go into the coral. Going into a turquoise, so I'm going to pick up a turquoise. Go into the turquoise. Don't have a bead that I'm going into, but I know that the only bead left is a purple, so I'm going to pick up a purple. 3 15-0s. Lay it out here. I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to find the second hole of that bead I'm coming out of and pull my 15-0s down. And there you're getting that diagonal pattern there. So I'm going to do the rest of this off camera, and then I'll be back and we'll put the ends on. Okay, I've got my length that I want here, and I'm coming out of this purple bead, and my next bead to pick up is my pink. So I'm going to pick up 1 pink and 3 15-0s. Lay this down here. I'm going to go back through the other hole of that pink bead. Okay, now rather than going on down with my Superduos, because I want to be done now, I'm going to pick up an 8-0, and I'm going to go in this purple bead, because I want this end to look like the end I started with here, where I started with my 8-0s in between my Superduos. Now I'm going to pick up another 8-0 and go into this turquoise bead. Now this end here is empty. See, there's nothing there. So in order to fill up that empty space, I'm going to pick up 3 of my 15-0s. And I'm going to go back in this turquoise bead that I'm coming out of. And that just kind of fills that in a little bit and makes it look not so empty. So now I'm going to put on my clasp. So I'm going to, let's see, it's been a minute since I've done this. I think I want to be coming out of this 8-0. And I'm going to go through all these because this end part is loose. And I want it to not be loose when I put my clasp on it. So I'm just going to go through all these. I'm going to go through this last pink one here. I'll go back around my 3 little 15-ohs here on the side. Back through the bottom hole of that pink one and the top hole of that purple one. Back through the bottom hole of that purple one, the top hole of that turquoise one. Just going down the line here. Back through the bottom hole of this turquoise one and the top hole of this, well, I can't get them both, so I'll do it one at a time. And then the top hole of this pink one. Now I'm going to go back up these 3 little 15-ohs I put down here to fill in my space. I can get my needle to go up through there. There we go. Now I'm going to go across here and come out of my turquoise Superduo. Now that end part is tight, and now I'm going to put my wire guardian on here. So I'm going to pick up, and you might want to switch to a size 12 needle, because I'm going to, if you're using 15-ohs like I am, but I am going to stubbornly try to do it with my size 11. So I'm going to pick up 3 15-ohs, an 8-oh, and my wire guardian. Go up through one channel of my wire guardian. Go back down through the other channel of my wire guardian and my 8-oh. And pinch the wire guardian so that the thread will land in that channel. Now I'm going to pick up 3 more 15-ohs. I started coming out of this turquoise Superduo. I'm going to go in this 8-oh because I think that will center it a little better. It probably won't be perfectly centered, but it'll be close. And I'm just going to go on through that last Superduo, the coral one, and one of those 15-ohs, because I'm going to go around all those 15-ohs again anyway. And that puts my little wire guardian on there like that. I'm going to pinch him in a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to go back. I'm going to go through these other 2 15-ohs, because I'm going to work my way back around so that I can reinforce my clasp. I'll go through these 2 15-ohs, back through the bottom of this coral Superduo and the top of that purple one. And I'm just going to go down my line here again. I'm going to go at the bottom of this purple one, the top of this coral one, turquoise one. I'm going to go through the bottom of this turquoise one and the top of this coral one. Now I'm going to go back up these 3 15-ohs here on the edge. And back through the top of this turquoise one. Now I'm going to back up my 3 15-ohs that I put on for my clasping part here, and my 8-oh. And I have a knot in my thread. Alright, wasn't a knot, it was just wrapped around itself. Now I'm going to go back up my wire guardian. Back down the other side of my wire guardian. And back into my 8/0. Pinch the wire guardian so the thread will go down in that channel. Go back down through these 3 15/0, back through the 8/0, back through the coral bead if you can get them all. Now I'm just going to go around these 15/0s again. Oops. And then I'm going to work my way around again just like I did that time so that I can reinforce my clasp a third time. On the bottom of that coral one, the top of the pink one, bottom of the purple one, top of the turquoise one, bottom of the turquoise one, top of the pink one, back up these 3 15/0s, back into the top of this turquoise bead, back up my 3 15/0s that I put on to do my clasping, and back up the 8/0, back up the wire guardian, back down the wire guardian in the 8/0, pinch the wire guardian so the thread will come down in the channel, back down through these 3 15/0s on this side, I'm going to go back through this 8/0 in the coral Superduo if it'll go. Yeah. Now I'm going to go back around my 15/0s again. Back into the bottom of this coral bead. And now I'm going to tie some half-hitch knots. I'm going to find this thread bridge under here. Go through my loop. Guide my knot down slowly. Now I'm going to go through a couple more beads. Beads are getting full of thread. It's hard to get my needle through there. Now I'm going to just go down here. I'm going to go from the top of this turquoise bead to the bottom of this turquoise bead. they're so tightly together you're not going to see that piece of thread. Now I'm going to grab another thread bridge here, go up through my loop, slowly guide my knot down. Now I'm going to go back through a few more beads. I'll go back down through here. Find another thread bridge in here. Go up through my loop, guide my knot down. Go through a few more beads. That was 3, so I'm just going to go through a few more beads and then cut my thread off. So now I'm going to take my stop bead off down here. And I'm going to put 3 15-ohs right there where that empty spot is. And then I'm going to sew around and put my wire guardian on just like I did down here. And then I'll come back and we'll put the clasp on. Okay, I've got it all done now. I got both ends of my wire guardians on here, so I'm going to just put my clasp on. Take my 6mm jump ring. Open it up, put my toggle loop on here. Take my other jump ring. Open it up and put my toggle bar on. Make sure it'll clasp. Oh, there we go. A little diagonal peyote stitch bracelet with Superduos. Let me get my mess cleaned up here and I'll be back. Okay, there it is all done. A little peyote bracelet with Superduos. It's not a hard stitch at all. There's all kinds of pretty designs. You can make diamonds and stuff. You don't have to do a diagonal. You can do color blocking. There's just all kinds of different varieties of things you can do with it. I hope you all have enjoyed this video. As usual, thank you all so much for joining me today. I really appreciate those of you who have subscribed to my channel and watched my videos and liked and commented on my videos. I have a website where I sell my jewelry. It's Teresa's Handmade Jewelry, and I put a link to it in the description box below in case you're interested, along with a link to my Facebook and Instagram and my email. If you haven't, I'd really love it if you'd subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're notified when I upload a new video. So until next time, I hope you all have a great day. Take care.